Good evening. We are live tonight at the Olympic Village in Vancouver on the south shore of False Creek as we continue counting down to the one-year anniversary of the 2010 Olympic Winter Games. This used to be a kind of no man's land, an industrial area that was mostly a parking lot. It, of course, was transformed into a housing development that accommodated nearly 3,000 Olympic athletes, coaches, and officials. And now, 1 year later, it's either a white elephant or a world-class piece of real estate that's just waiting for the right buyers. It all depends on your point of view. Glad to have you with us tonight. What lies ahead for Vancouver's Olympic Village? One of the most visible and certainly one of the most troubled of all the Olympic venues. Driven into receivership late last year, it remains in temporary limbo with just half of its housing units sold. Several wealthy business tycoons have considered a bulk buy, and we can tell you tonight one of them is Vancouver Canucks owner Francesco Aquilini, who's just waiting for the right deal.
A cloud of debt lies over the former Olympic Village. $730 million still owed to Vancouver taxpayers. And today there is news a prominent developer made an offer which would have eliminated a big chunk of it.
The Aquilini Group confirms it made an offer to purchase all of the remaining 450-plus units in this development. They negotiated with the city, but were about $200 million apart in price. They haven't talked for months, but the city admits it's unlikely they'll ever make back the money they're owed. So the question is, do you take your loss now or later?
The city doesn't belong in the land development business. That's what happened when they left their land in the deal. You know, it's grown into an albatross around the city's neck, and, you know, they say your first loss is your best loss.
But the city has decided on a different route. Relaunch the property next week with lower prices and likely a new name, and sell the condos one by one, a process that will take years.
The loss may be much less if the city sells it in an orderly and thoughtful way rather than try and do a fire sale to all of the units to one person.
Even though the city's having to pay interest on this big loan?
Yes.
Okay. Are you aware of other bulk purchase offers?
There are people out there who manage large portfolios of property who are interested in that, and I think you've referred to one possibility, and there are probably others. But as I said, if you were to buy all of these, the city's loan is X. It would have to be at a discount from, you know, be X minus some quite big discount. And to me, that discount is probably going to be too heavy a hit.
As for the Aquilini Group, they say they'll be watching the situation closely and are still very interested in the project.
And when the Millennium Water went into receivership, it wasn't just the condo building that was left in the lurch or the taxpayers. There are trades and business people who are still owed money. One of them is a locksmith who says the city has refused to settle with him, even as it moves ahead with expensive party plans for the Olympic anniversary.
Olympic party plans are in the works for the one-year anniversary, but Aimé Bouchard is not in the mood to celebrate.
I've just been treated absolutely terrible, like no one really cares.
Bouchard is the owner of Pro Quality Locksmith, a small business. He says he worked hundreds of hours installing locks in all of the buildings in the Olympic Village, $20,000 worth of work. Bouchard says he's still owed 12 grand.
This is our legacy for the Olympics. You know, you've got one of your tradesperson here that took care of everybody when they were here in the city of Vancouver. You want to sell these beautiful units, you know, people have access to it. Pay your money. I've done the work.
Bouchard's company is one of over 150 creditors who claim Millennium Southeast False Creek, which built the village, owes them money. But after financial problems, the company went into receivership under Ernst & Young. BC Hydro, the Vancouver Sun, London Drugs, and dozens of contractors who did work on the Olympic legacy are all on the creditors list. Ironically, so is a Millennium company. Out of the $65 million in claims, Millennium is asking for over $62 million. Even though Bouchard's claim is a lot less, he says 12 grand is a huge hit for his small company.
I'm a sole proprietor, so yes, you know, all the time I was here doing the work for them, I'm not working elsewhere. So yes, it's a lot of money. It's really set me back.
The mayor and city officials are not commenting on the creditor mess. They say that Ernst & Young is making all the decisions. Our questions are not complicated. We just want to know who's been paid, whether the rest of the creditors are going to get their money, and is Millennium going to get a check for $62 million. Ernst & Young refused to do an on-camera interview. In a statement, a spokesperson said, while the receiver has no legal obligation to pay creditors, some of those creditors have already been paid to date, where these relationships were deemed necessary to preserve continuity of supply. So what about that $62 million claim by the Millennium Development Corp? Ernst & Young says the company won't be paid. As for Bouchard, he probably won't see a cent unless a lot of condos here start to sell.